Adriano Severino, welcome to the Buyer's Insight.
Thanks, mate.
You're
Thanks
the
for having
founder
me.
and director of First Light Finance in Byron Bay.
Yep, that's correct.
Amazing. Now, for those who don't know, what is First Light Finance?
So basically, the majority of the work we do is probably in mortgages. So finance for mortgages, investment loans as well. We do a fair bit of asset finance as well.
Yep.
Business loans, we even do personal loans. So pretty much, any type of loan, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And I want to rewind a little bit all the way back to the beginning and how you started out and maybe like where you grew up and to what's brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So grew up in Sydney originally.
Yep.
In the inner west, and I think it was about 96 when I first visited Byron Bay.
Yep.
And fell in love straight away and thought this is somewhere where I want to retire.
Yeah.
And then
Just the beaches or?
Oh, just everything, the vibe as well. Definitely the vibe. And I think my in-laws moved up in 2004, so we started visiting a lot more.
It's got a
regularly,
really,
I guess you could say.
really like surfer, laid back sort of vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Quite hippie and stuff as well.
It does, yeah. It's changed a little bit over the last few years.
It has.
Sort of got into the middle age and thought, why wait till I retire and let's get up there now.
Yeah. Okay. So how long ago was it when you moved to Byron Bay?
Probably about three years ago now, 3.5 years ago. So we decided to move before the whole COVID pandemic happened.
Yep.
And we were literally packed up, ready to go, and the truck came and Sydney went into the first lockdown. So that was interesting, very challenging as well. I was working in advertising at the time, sort of toyed with the idea of maybe working in finance.
Yep.
And it all happened pretty quickly once we moved up. Got a job with a few brokers in Bangalore, and they sort of helped me out there. And then probably about 1.5 years later, started my own business, started First Light Finance. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And what were you doing back in Sydney before you moved up to Byron?
I was working as an art director, so graphic designer, more on the creative side in advertising.
Yeah.
The last 7 years of my career was solely working for an agency called BMF.
Yep.
And working on the Aldi supermarket account. So
All right.
you've probably seen some of those ads. So lots of fun, bit quirky,
That's the way.
pretty out there. But I kind of had enough of it. Been doing it for quite a while and decided that becoming a broker and getting into finance was something that I wanted to do, and had a taste of it, really loved it, and started my own business. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. And so you were working as a mortgage broker with another company that sort of inspired you to go out on your own and create your own practice. And so now you've been going for a few years, and you're basically in the heart of Byron Bay.
Yeah.
How are you finding business? How are you finding the market at the moment?
So finding that things in Byron, I guess, definitely peaked around the time I moved up in terms of property prices and
So it's basically during the boom.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So obviously volumes for mortgage brokers in terms of the loans we were doing back then was absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
So it's definitely quietened down quite a bit. So probably not the best time to start a business, but look, I'm enjoying it, but it's definitely, I guess, the way I see it is probably the right time to buy.
Yeah.
There's probably a few people that are probably getting scared off at the moment with interest rates being so high.
Yeah.
That's also causing the market to sort of slow down, obviously. And that, I guess, fear of missing out has gone as well, especially in the smaller rural areas. So, definitely a little bit quieter than what it was a few years ago, but starting to gradually pick up again.
Yeah, so since mortgage rates have been left on hold for the last few months, are you finding that there's a bit more, confidence when it comes to sentiment in the marketplace and a little bit more activity on your end?
Yes, definitely, 100%. So there's been a lot more inquiries.
Yeah.
A lot more, I guess, people inquiring about pre-approval for purchases.
Yeah.
And investors coming back into the space again as well.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So investors is always a good sign to show that the market, there's confidence there, because typically when the market's a little bit uneasy, investors usually sit on the sidelines, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So and as a mortgage brokerage, what would you say would be, the biggest advantage that you can offer to clients rather than them going directly to the bank?
Oh, okay. There's quite a few advantages, I would say. First and foremost, if we're going to talk about rate going to one bank, you're going to be offered, one rate and maybe 2 or 3 products, whereas going to a mortgage broker, it's all about finding the most suitable loan for the customer.
Yeah.
With their best interest at heart as well. That's definitely something that you need to sort of, I've lost it there. So
have at the forefront of your mind. Like you've always got their best interests at
the forefront of your mind, exactly.
So whereas a bank could only typically offer the products that they have, which might be, A, B, and C, and then they just sort of make it fit. Is that
exactly? Yeah. Whereas going to a mortgage broker, you're definitely going to get the best rate because we're looking at pretty much, every single lender that's available.
Yeah.
Well, the majority. I'm with Connective, which is a really large aggregator, and we've got pretty much every lender you can think of.
Yeah.
And then, there might be someone that has a bit of an issue with credit history or something like that. So we've got lenders that suit that aspect as well.
So someone's got a default
Exactly.
or hasn't necessarily got the best credit score.
Yep.
You can go to sometimes they call it second tier or third tier lenders and
Correct.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so obviously a lot of investors are coming back into the market, and typically investors like to, have their LVR ratio at around, 90 or 95%.
Yeah.
Are there a few lenders at the moment, even on the main 4 banks, are they offering loans with those sorts of ratios of, say, 5% deposits, 10% deposits?
Yeah, definitely. So for someone in that category, professionals like medicos as well, doctors, registered nurses can definitely go up to a higher LVR with a smaller deposit and not have to pay any lender's mortgage insurance, which is great.
Yeah.
And then you got, your first home buyers as well.
They've got to pay the mortgage insurance, though, don't they?
If they don't have enough of a deposit, then you're paying a little bit of lender's mortgage insurance. But there's always guarantor loans as well if they've got a mum or dad.
Would someone that isn't a medical professional and is having to pay mortgage lending insurance, would they still be able to get a loan with a 5% deposit?
Sorry, say again?
So if it was a first home buyer, say for example, and they say they haven't purchased property before, but they're wanting to buy their first investment property, they've got 5% deposit, but they've got enough money to cover the mortgage insurance. Are they still able to get a loan currently?
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. If the servicing's there, then away you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are banks that will do it. There aren't too many sort of playing in that 5% space. So that's sort of getting pulled back a little bit, I guess, with the risk appetite sort of with rates going up. So a lot of the banks are looking at that.
Okay.
But there are definitely products out there and lenders that would do it.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, over the last, say, 24 months, we had in the media a lot of talk about a mortgage cliff. And I think we were meant to feel that mortgage cliff end of last year, I believe.
Yep.
I'm still waiting for the mortgage cliff to come. I'm just wondering, you're on the front line. Is there a mortgage cliff? Is it all just hype? Is it all just talk? What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, look, my thoughts when it comes to what you hear in the media is take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Their job is to obviously, back in the day, it was sell papers. Now it's, obviously get a message out there. And I think a lot of it is a bit of a beat up and there's a lot of hype as well that does go into it. But there's only a few people that I'd really listen to.
Yeah.
Mark Boros being one of those.
Yeah, so he's pretty onto it, hey?
Yeah, people that are, been doing it for a long time and know what they're talking about. They're the ones I'd be listening to.
So there's no mortgage cliff coming?
No.
No, yeah. So people don't need to worry about that. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that the media just tends to run with this narrative, and then, very rarely do any of those sort of narratives come true.
Exactly.
We're finding, I'm based in Brisbane, and we're finding that the market up there is still really quite hot.
Yeah.
There's lots of interstate, international people moving to Brisbane. and the demand for buying houses is just out of this world. It hasn't really gotten any better.
Yeah, Brisbane's definitely a hotspot, that's for sure, in terms of investing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like with a lot of your clients that are acquiring loans, do you sort of service, Australia-wide? Do you just try and service in certain areas or?
Yeah, look, I'm definitely Australia-wide. I've got clients in Hobart, Melbourne, Sydney, quite a few over in Perth as well.
Yeah.
But the majority are probably around Byron, the Gold Coast and Brisbane, but quite a few in Sydney as well. Obviously, that's where I'm originally from, so I've got a bit of a base down there. But I'd say, Australia-wide. Okay. A lot of people don't sort of understand that you can work with a mortgage broker anywhere you are. You don't have to be face-to-face, especially today.
Yeah.
A lot of the banks are moving into digital documents now, so you can digitally sign something. You don't need to have a wet signature on everything. So it's definitely a lot easier than probably what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And so just for the listeners watching or listening in, what would you say if someone was looking to buy a house and they hadn't acquired finance or pre-approval yet, in order to get their sort of, ducks in a row, what would you say the best thing that they could do to get started?
Speak to a mortgage broker nice and early. So I've got people, some customers that I've been speaking to for a year, even longer, and they'll come to you up front and say, this is how much I've got in terms of a deposit, and you work with them. It's a process, and you also develop a relationship with them, so it becomes emotional as well. And you're in the trenches with them, you're helping them out, telling them the next steps, what they need to do, but you're also educating as well, which I find, I guess, fulfilling. And one of the reasons why I sort of got into the job was to help people. Yeah, I get a kick out of that. So definitely best to go and see a mortgage broker as soon as possible, even if you're just thinking about it and not even ready. Yeah, because they'll be able to set you up with the knowledge that you need to steer into the right direction and get there sooner.
Yeah, okay. And so if someone was thinking about buying a house and they had a credit card and, that's obviously going to impact their borrowing capacity a lot of the time. Yeah. Would you suggest to get those sorts of, small debts, some people have Afterpay and things like that. Would you say knock those out of the way first before attempting to get the loan, or?
So it all depends on the debt to income ratio. Yeah. So if the income's quite high, they might not need to get rid of those debts or those liabilities. So again, they just need to talk to a mortgage broker so that they can figure out their debt to income ratio, and then come up with a plan of attack to say, okay, we need to close down. Let's say there's 3 facilities, a credit card and an Afterpay or something like that. Like you said, they might need to only get rid of one of them. Yeah. We can also move to a conditional approval and have those liabilities conditioned as being closed down. Yeah. So they don't have to do it straight away. Yeah.
Right. Definitely. Okay.
It's a process. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. And typically on average, like once you've got all the documentation from the client and you've sort of assessed them and they had a contract on a property, how long does it usually take to be able to get them to an unconditional stage with the finance?
It depends on the lender largely and their time to approval, basically how busy they are. I've got lenders that can give an approval in 2 hours or less, which is really great. Right. And there's others that might take a little bit longer. So if it's someone that had purchased, for example, and finance was really important in terms of getting it as fast as possible, then we'd be looking at a few of those lenders that are going to be a lot quicker for sure. But it does depend on the lender. Yeah, and to a large degree, it depends on the customer as well and how quick they are at getting all the information that you need.
Yeah, and responding. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, because obviously as a buyer's agent, we deal with lots of different clients, and some of them have their different conditions. Some require 21 days, some require 14, some are 7, some can have a approved tomorrow. So it's always good to sort of understand that on another level. Yeah, yeah, and so. Obviously you're quite earlier on in your new venture with this business. Where do you see yourself taking this, and do you have any goals for this year and going into next year?
Yeah, so goals this year is to grow the business. I think the first year was more just figuring out the processes. And when I started, I had an assistant. So starting my own business, I've gone from having an assistant to not having one.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to throw myself into, understanding the application process a little bit more, which I've done now. And that's largely because I want to grow the business, bring someone on and have them, sort of processing the loans and doing more of the data entry, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
Definitely a goal for this year is to grow the business and bring someone or maybe one or two people on to help process the loans. Yeah.
Okay. And an additional team member in regards to just being like a mortgage broker and stuff like that?
Yeah. To start off with, it'll be just me. And then as the business grows, then definitely bringing on other mortgage brokers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're actually looking at buying a trail book at the moment. So once that happens, then we're definitely going to, be growing pretty quickly and needing more staff and bringing more people on.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so for mortgage brokers that are listening, and when it comes to having a book as a mortgage broker, you get paid, say, an upfront, fee from the bank, from the lender, and then you get a trailing commission. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah. And that's for the life of the loan.
It's for the life of the loan, right.
Based on the balance of the loan as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. That's good to know. And for any people looking to enter the mortgage brokering space, did you have any, tips or advice for them?
Yeah, maybe do what I did and get in front of mortgage brokers that have been doing it, or a mortgage broker that's been doing it for a while. Yeah. And ask questions. Maybe have a trial run. Do a couple of weeks in a brokerage, see if you like it. Yeah. I think you need to, first and foremost, you need to be someone that likes talking to people and likes the interaction with people, which I do really enjoy. Otherwise, it might not be for you if you're not a people person, I suppose, because it's really based on relationships first and foremost. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've also got to have a lot of relationships with, say, banking assessors and stuff like that. Hey, is that quite important when it comes to actually getting loans processed?
Yeah, in terms of at the bank, at the lender. Yeah, so you don't have that much of a very close rapport with the credit people. Yeah. Because that's obviously a very big department. But every bank has a BDM, so business development manager or broker development manager. Every bank calls it something different. And you need to have a good relationship with them because they're basically your conduit to the lender. Oh, okay. If something goes pear-shaped during the approval or anything like that, then they're the ones that are going to, pull out all the stops to help you out. If you need to ask a question in terms of policy, if you can't find the answer, then they're the ones to, always help out with that sort of thing. Right. So that's definitely probably the most important relationship that a broker can have is with their BDM.
Yeah. Okay, nice. All right. And so you've got this office in Byron Bay. Are you thinking about expanding offices, or you think you'll just stay there and expand in Byron Bay but not go to different states and things like that?
Look, it's always in my mind to possibly expand the offices into the Gold Coast. Yeah. That'd probably be my next sort of area that I'd be looking at. Just because it's close as well in terms of, obviously proximity. Yeah. I'm down in Sydney quite a bit. So having an office in Sydney would definitely be on the cards as well, just because I've got such a big client base down there and go down there still, quite a bit and have a lot of referral partners down there and a lot of business down there basically. So, yeah.
And as a mortgage broker, who would you say, like in terms of referral partners, refers, the most to you? Like in what sort of industry?
Probably accountants, I would say. Yeah. They're probably the best sort of referral partner you can have because they're always talking to people about their finances. Yeah. That's always top of mind when you're talking about finances. Then it leads to lending and mortgages or, a business loan or maybe a loan for a vehicle in the business. So that's always something that, a broker can help out with. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And financial planners as well. But there's a bit of a funny thing going on there with new laws and everything that
is it changing a bit at the moment?
It changed a while ago with the whole inquiry and everything that happened.
I heard a little bit about that. It's just got a lot more strict and harder and expensive to get licenses and stuff for them.
That's a whole other ball game. Different kettle of fish.
Yeah, fair enough. And so do you find yourself interested in buying property, talking to so many home buyers all the time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, what led me into the whole industry in the first place was, I've been investing in property since probably my mid to late 20s.
All right. Where'd you buy your first property?
In Sydney, yeah.
In Sydney?
Yeah, in Sydney.
Whereabouts?
Russell Lee, in the inner west.
Yeah. Nice. And do you still have that today, or have you sold?
No, we sold that. So we that got us into the next one, and then that one we sold and got into the next one. So there's a lot of people that say never sell and always hold.
Yeah, I know.
But it just depends on the situation, I suppose. It'd be nice to hold everything, but it's not always the best idea.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out quite like that.
Yeah,
but I feel like every time you look back in retrospect, the property has gone up a lot more since when you sold it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so you planning on making any other property moves now you're here in Byron? And
at the moment we're looking at possibly building. So the next property move after that will probably be in the commercial space, I would say. Probably looking at buying an office space for myself. So,
nice.
So that I don't have to rent.
So you're building a house soon, or
probably the next 12 months or so.
All right. Have you acquired land or?
No, yet? So we have an acre, and the house that's on it at the moment is pretty old. So we're looking at renovating it, but probably best to knock it down and start again by the looks of it, the way things are going at the moment in the building industry.
Yeah. What part of Byron Bay?
Myocum, the hinterland.
Oh yeah, it's a good spot.
Yeah.
Nice. And like with the plans for building a new house, do you have like a sort of theme or style that you're leaning a bit more towards, or?
It keeps changing because obviously we're kind of semi-rural. So, we're thinking maybe something a little bit more sort of something that's not going to be, stick out too much. But at the same time, we like the Palm Springs vibe.
Yeah,
that everyone's kind of going for at the moment, which is popular. And I just love that era as well. So
it's nice.
It might be a bit of a blend of the two, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. Does your partner like that as well?
Yeah, she's on board. Yeah, she likes everything I like pretty much. So we're lucky in that aspect.
Nice. That's always good. So I feel like that Palm Spring, boho sort of white, or even like the Mediterranean, is really quite popular at the moment.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with white.
Nice. Well, that's cool, man. I'm really excited to see what you actually end up building there.
Yeah.
It'll be great to have a look.
Yeah, it will be. That's the first time we've built a house together, so it'll be interesting.
It's always an exciting journey building a house. There's always, you think it's going to be real easy and straightforward, but there's so many like different moving parts to it. And it's really rewarding at the end. But along the way, the journey with trades and trying to pick colours and, all the changes that usually happen throughout a build. And then weather conditions is, quite challenging as well. But it's a fun one.
I've heard a few stories of things not going right for a lot of people, so hopefully that doesn't happen to us.
Yeah, it does happen. It definitely happens. I've built a few houses, and weather conditions and trades not getting along with each other throughout the build journey and things like that can be, quite tough to handle. But at the end, it's really rewarding. Yeah. Nice. Well, that's good, mate. Exciting. Well, look, I'm pretty keen to see how you progress with the brokerage firm and see you come up here to the Gold Coast. Would love to see you expand more and see where you take it. Sounds like you've got some pretty exciting plans.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. It's been good working with you too. So, thanks for having me on.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much, mate.